Hello everyone and welcome back to another update of my Robinhood portfolio. It's typically a lot more fun to make these videos when the market is consistently hitting its all-time highs, but as all of us know by now, the market this year has not been too hot. Between tariffs and trade wars and a lot of uncertainty regarding recession fears and a big slowdown in the economy, the stock market has been suffering quite a bit this year. This last week though, we did have a lot of movement from a few stocks in my portfolio such as Robinhood Markets, jumping up nearly 21% last week. Palantir Technologies, my smallest holding in the portfolio, jumped about 20% as well. And Nvidia, my largest position, also rose last week about 10%. So my overall total gain was just under 11%, or around $11,000 in 1 week. But these are all just gains that I've really just earned back because year to date we are still down 18%, or around $25,000. So we do still have quite a while to go before we break even, but I am, of course, very bullish long term, and if I were to predict, I would say that we will break even and be back into the green year to date by late fall after everything blows over, but that's just totally my opinion. So when it comes to each individual item here, I do have 3 covered calls at the top that you can see, and for those of you who don't know much about selling covered calls, you can either, of course, do some research and spend some time learning about them yourself, and I could also make a video kind of explaining how I do it as well. And speaking of my own covered calls, because last week was such a rally, I'm actually kind of getting destroyed on some of these positions. So for the sake of these covered call positions, I actually want the market to kind of drop back down a little bit next week because they all expire next Friday, May 2nd. So hopefully there's a little bit of a pullback next week. Otherwise, I will have to spend about $1,000 buying back all of these calls. Now this brings me to each individual holding in the portfolio, starting with Nvidia, that I actually sold quite a few shares of because I wanted to add more shares of Howmet Aerospace at number 3 there, to get it to 100 shares so that I'm able to sell covered calls on Howmet as well. And because I sold, it was about 15 shares of Nvidia, my average cost actually jumped up to around $118, lowering its weighting down to about 10% of the portfolio. Broadcom is still number 2 at about 9% of the portfolio and a 37% return. So I do plan on selling a couple shares of Broadcom and moving those profits into other positions in the portfolio, especially while a lot of my other positions are in the negative. Howmet Aerospace at number 3 that I just talked about, 100 shares there and a small gain of 4.4%. Now this company is very self-explanatory. It's an aerospace engineering and parts company that sells its products to companies like Boeing. It's one that's been growing rapidly and has a lot of headwind going forward too. Texas Pacific Land at number 4, and it's up to just under 7% of the portfolio. And for the past 3 months or so, it's been very flat, and I've been trying to buy here and there every time it dips. The next one is Axon, one of my favorite companies. It's a personal defense technology company that mostly contracts with police forces all throughout the US. Very unique yet powerful company. It's basically a monopoly. About 19 shares with another pretty small gain of 5.73%, or around $600. Progressive Insurance is next. I've held this one for a good long while and plan on holding it for the next couple of years as well. Just under 5% of the portfolio and an 11% gain. The next one is Coca-Cola Consolidated, and funny enough, this is also one of my favorite companies because it's very boring, but also a consistently growing company. Now it's different from the regular Coca-Cola company that Warren Buffett holds in his portfolio. It's not near as big comparatively. Its market cap is just around 12 billion, but it's the largest independent bottler of Coca-Cola in the United States. So it's kind of a Warren Buffett style company that tends to fly under the radar, and companies like this are some of my favorites to invest in. The next one is AutoZone, one of the largest auto parts stores in the United States. I've had this one for a while as well, and it's also a very low volatility and slow and steady growing company too. Arthur J. Gallagher, another insurance company that I've had in the portfolio for a really long time, and I actually recently sold a few shares near its all-time high, but then the price dropped right back down shortly after, so I thought, why not buy those shares back at a lower price? So I recently bought a few more shares around that $300 range, and my total return is 5.6%, or around $420. Next is Vistra Energy, a very high volatility growth stock in the utility sector, down 10% or a negative $1,000 total return. And I may buy 1 or 2 more shares in the near future, but not planning on increasing this position size too much because of its higher risk. Now, as I scroll towards the bottom, all these stocks are some that might have lost a ton of value recently and dropped down the ranks, or they might be some that I've sold shares of, or they might be some that I've recently added to the portfolio and haven't completely built up the position yet. For example, I recently bought shares of Doximity. This is a medical software company that enables doctors to collaborate and connect with their patients virtually. It's fairly new to the market. Its IPO was back in 2021. And it's one that I'm very excited about and bullish on for the next couple of years. And of course, there's Palantir at the bottom here, my newest position and smallest as well, takes up less than 1% of the portfolio with about 7 shares. And I'm usually not one to buy the extremely popular stocks that everyone seems to be talking about, but it's a company that I find very unique and interesting, not to mention it's actually very profitable despite its extremely high valuation. So I actually don't plan on holding Palantir for that long, probably no longer than about a year or even a couple months if it just continues to skyrocket. But it might even be one to consider holding long term. So that's just something that I will decide for myself. So that is it for this portfolio update, guys. If you have any questions or thoughts, just let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all next time.